Welcome to the Mirror of Minds, a podcast where we conduct Sephirothic analysis and deep metaphysical diagnostics of public figures. This is where we trace the soul's distortions through the tree of life and reveal the hidden architecture behind behavior, collapse, and identity. Let's begin. Kanye West, a Sephirothic diagnosis of spiritual collapse, a metaphysical analysis of identity, rebellion, and the destruction of selfhood. Introduction: the flame that turned on itself. Kanye West is not merely a controversial artist, he is the public embodiment of metaphysical disintegration in real time. Once hailed as a creative prophet, his descent into self-sabotage, inflammatory spectacle, and spiritual blasphemy reveals the deeper story of a soul that was not corrupted by fame, but collapsed under the weight of unanchored brilliance. To understand Ye is to walk through the tree of life in reverse, from radiant emanation to total distortion. What began as genius turned into grievance, what began as vision turned into vengeance, and what was once a soul of divine promise became a field of psychic debris, fueled by pain, rebellion, and the hunger to be God without undergoing God's fire. Disconnection from the divine source. At the crown of the tree, Kether is the point of origin, pure silence, divine stillness, the seed of individuality in unity. In Ye, Kether is eclipsed. Rather than submitting to the flame of divine becoming, Ye replaces it with self-deification. His repeated assertions of being a god, a genius above correction, and even his declaration of admiration for Hitler are not acts of vision. They are acts of spiritual rebellion. He does not seek the one. He wants to be the one, without surrender, without structure, and without purification. This is not ego. It is ontological displacement. The soul has severed from source and now spins in isolation, interpreting chaos as enlightenment. Sephirothic, collapse of the solar self. The throne of identity, Sephirothic, should be the causal axis of any soul. Here, the self integrates divine light and radiates sovereignty. In Ye, Sephirothic is unseated. He cannot hold stillness. His self is constantly morphing: prophet, villain, victim, father, messiah, exile. Without an anchored self, Ye becomes whatever the current moment demands for emotional survival. He burns brightly, but not from truth, from friction. He declares war on others not because he knows who he is, but because the absence of self is so unbearable, it must be masked with spectacle. His fire is not radiant, it is combustive. Chesed and Pahad, overcompensation and fury. Chesed, the current of divine generosity, once made Ye magnetic. His early art radiated vision, beauty, and warmth. But without Sephirothic, Chesed turns to emotional overreach, speaking too much, giving too wildly, revealing too intimately. It is generosity without grounding, exposure without containment. Pahad, Gavura, which should provide inner discernment and self-restraint, has become weaponized outward. Instead of using the sword to cut illusion, Ye uses it to cut others: family, friends, communities, designers, brands, fans. The sword never points inward. It never severs delusion. It punishes the world for not mirroring his fire. This is the collapse of judgment, and with it, the boundary between freedom and violation dissolves. Netzach and Had, fire without wisdom. Ye's Netzach, his emotional and creative fire, is overcharged and directionless. His desire burns, but with no higher aspiration. There is no ascension, only performance. He seeks stimulation, chaos, headlines, infamy. Had, the Sephira of humility and refinement, is inverted. Instead of refining his truth, Ye uses language and symbols as weapons. Anti-Semitic statements, Nazi symbolism, sexual oversharing. This is not free expression. It is the abuse of metaphysical language to distort, dominate, and deflect. The mind no longer bows to the soul. It protects the wound with noise. Yesod, corrupted foundation. At Yesod, the astral emotional bridge, Ye has built a temple of ghosts. Past trauma, unprocessed betrayal, sexual confusion, and familial wounds linger unhealed. The soul no longer filters impressions. It becomes a sponge. The recent revelations of childhood sexual activity with his male cousin, shared on podcasts as spectacle, are not healing. They are the monetization of unintegrated pain. The field becomes polluted. The mirror cracks. And intimacy turns into confession without containment. His Yesod is not a foundation. It is a swamp. Malkuth, empire without root. In Malkuth, the realm of manifestation, Ye has built empires, fashion, music, design, politics. But without Kether, Tifereth, or Yesod, his creations collapse under the weight of his disintegration. Adidas severed ties. Balenciaga withdrew. Albums were delayed or rejected. Public opinion flipped. Each fall is not punishment. It is the natural entropy of a tree that has lost its verticality. No empire stands when the soul that built it has abandoned its throne. Daith, the abyss, fusion without foundation. Though not always mapped as a formal Sephira, Dath, the abyss of knowledge, the false synthesis, is the hidden core of Ye's current identity. Here, he fuses contradiction, Christian and Nazi, father and spectacle, prophet and addict. The tension of opposites has not been resolved. It has been fused without purification. This is not mysticism. It is distortion, parading as synthesis. True Dath opens when Tifereth is seated and Kether is trusted. In Ye, Dath has become a psychic tear, a place where all contradictions swirl, but none transform. Closing diagnosis, the uninitiated flame. Ye is not a madman. He is an uninitiated mystic, one who touched the divine flame too early, without containment, without a guide, and without the spiritual humility to let the fire change him. He believes he is the messenger, but he never received the message. He believes he is the creator, but he never surrendered to the source. And he believes he is the light, but he cannot hold the stillness required to become the lamp. Until Ye reseats his self, reclaims his silence, and reopens to the vertical current of Kether, his fire will consume him, and his gifts will continue to rot into rebellion. Final word for Kanye. Ye, if you ever hear this, know this. You are not broken. You are unanchored. You are not insane. You are unsealed. You were not meant to be worshipped. You were meant to become whole. But no one becomes God by playing God. They become God by dying into truth. Return to your throne, not as a prophet, not as a rebel, but as a son of the One. We are watching not your fall, but your refusal to return. And the world is waiting, not for your next album, but for your soul to rise.